It started like any other birthday. Quiet, ordinary, and easily forgettable. I woke up to sunlight spilling across my apartment floor. The kind of soft golden light that usually makes you feel grateful to be alive. But not that morning. Not on my 28th birthday. There were no messages from my family, no calls, no happy birthday, sweetheart from mom. Just silence. I tried to laugh it off. Maybe they were planning something later in the day. Maybe the surprise was just late. So I made myself coffee, scrolled through my phone, and told myself not to expect anything. I had learned that lesson long ago. Expectations only lead to disappointment. Still, I opened Facebook, almost out of habit. And that's when everything stopped. Right there, in the middle of my feed, was a photo that took the air out of my lungs. It was my family, my parents, my cousins, my sister Emily, all standing around a table filled with food, balloons, and a giant chocolate cake. The caption read, "Happy birthday, Emily. We love you so much." For a second, I thought it had to be a mistake. Maybe someone tagged the wrong person. Maybe the post was from last year. But no, the timestamp said today. My birthday. I stared at the screen, frozen. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. There they were, laughing, hugging, celebrating, all without me. And then I saw it. The cake. Triple layer chocolate decorated with pink frosting. My favorite. Not hers. That small detail hurt more than anything else. They hadn't just forgotten about me. They'd replaced me. I scrolled through the photos, my stomach twisting. My mom's arms were around Emily, both of them smiling like they didn't have a care in the world. My dad was behind them, holding up a glass of wine. Even my aunt, the one who never misses a chance to tell me how proud she is of me, commented, "So glad Emily's getting the love she deserves after such a tough year." And my mom replied, "Yes, we wanted to cheer her up. She's had such a hard time since losing her job." That was the moment something inside me cracked. Because 2 weeks earlier, when Emily did lose her job, I was the one who sent her $500 to help pay her rent. I was the one who listened to her cry at 2 in the morning. And now, she was standing in my place, surrounded by my family, cutting my cake on my birthday. The betrayal didn't come like an explosion. It came like a quiet wave that slowly drowned me. I sat there staring at the photo, realizing that for my entire life, I'd been the background character in my own family's story. And the star of the show? It was always Emily. Pause. For as long as I could remember, everything revolved around her. When she failed a class in high school, Mom blamed the teacher. When she crashed her car, Dad bought her a new one. When she dropped out of college, everyone said she was finding herself. And me? I was the responsible one. The helper, the fixer, the one who always understood. I thought that made me strong. But that morning, looking at those photos, I realized it just made me invisible. Pause. My coffee had gone cold. My hands were shaking as I scrolled through comment after comment, all of them praising my sister, telling her how lucky she was to have such a wonderful family. Lucky. That word made my chest tighten, because I couldn't remember the last time I felt lucky about anything that involved them. A part of me wanted to call my mom right then, to ask why. But another part of me was scared of what I'd hear. Still, I needed to know. I needed to understand how a family could throw a birthday party for one daughter on the other daughter's birthday. So I picked up my phone. And as it rang, I told myself I'd stay calm. No yelling, no tears, just the truth. Mom answered on the third ring. "Hey, sweetheart. Happy birthday," she said, her voice bright and cheerful. For a moment, I couldn't speak. My throat felt tight. Did you do anything special today? She added casually. Something inside me snapped. Did you? I asked. Pause. There was a silence. Long, heavy, and full of guilt. Then she sighed. Oh, honey, you saw the pictures, didn't you? Yeah, I said, my voice flat. I saw. It wasn't meant to hurt you, she said quickly. Your sister's been through so much lately. We just wanted to cheer her up. Pause. My chest burned. By throwing her a birthday party on my birthday? It wasn't like that, she insisted. It was just a little get-together. With cake, balloons, and a post that says, Happy Birthday, Emily. That's a get-together? You're reading too much into it, sweetheart. You know how she's been struggling. We thought you'd understand. Pause. Understand. That word again. It followed me everywhere. In childhood, in adulthood, in every conversation that ever ended with me being the one who forgave, who waited, who stayed quiet. But not this time. I swallowed hard. My voice came out low and steady. You didn't even call me, Mom. She hesitated. We were busy setting up for the party. And Emily, she really needed the attention. We thought you'd be fine. Fine. The word echoed in my head like an insult. That was my role in this family. The one who's fine. The one who doesn't need celebration or care or love that takes effort. Pause. I took a deep breath and said, You know what, Mom? Don't worry about it. I finally understand everything I need to. And I hung up. The silence after that was the loudest thing I've ever heard. Pause. Soft. Tears started rolling down my face before I even realized I was crying. Not because I wanted their attention anymore, but because I was done pretending it didn't hurt. For 28 years, I had been trying to earn a place in my own family, and it took one Facebook post to show me that I never really had one. Pause. Deep breath. But that was just the beginning, because when I finally confronted my sister Emily, that's when everything truly changed. If you've ever felt invisible in your own family, if you've ever been the one who's always, fine, stay with me. What happened next will make you question everything about love, loyalty, and revenge. That night, I didn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that cake. The pink frosting, the candles, the smiles that weren't meant for me. By morning, my anger had turned into something sharper. A cold, quiet determination. I wasn't going to cry about it anymore. I needed answers. And this time, I wasn't going to be the understanding one. So, I got dressed, grabbed my car keys, and drove straight to my parents' house. Soft tension-building pause. When I pulled into the driveway, Emily's car was already there. Of course it was. I sat there for a moment, gripping the steering wheel, trying to steady my breathing. My heart was pounding so hard it felt like the sound filled the car. Then I got out, slammed the door, and walked up the front steps. I didn't even knock. I just opened the door. And there she was, Emily, sitting at the kitchen table, drinking coffee from the mug that used to be mine. She looked up, startled, and for a brief second, guilt flashed across her face. But then, just as quickly, she smiled. Hey, birthday girl, she said, like nothing had happened. Want some coffee? Pause. That fake calmness, that casual tone, it made my blood boil. Don't do that, I said. Do what? Pretend everything's fine. She leaned back in her chair, crossing her arms. Look, if this is about the party, Mom already told me you were upset. It wasn't meant to be a big deal. You had a birthday party on my birthday, Emily. Oh, come on, she said, rolling her eyes. You've always been so sensitive. Pause. The music should shift slightly here, colder. Sensitive. That word hit me harder than it should have. I took a step closer. You knew what day it was. I didn't plan it, she snapped. Mom did. She said you were busy and she wanted to cheer me up. What was I supposed to do? Say no to free food? Her voice was sharp now, defensive. You could have said, hey, it's my sister's birthday. Maybe this isn't a good idea. You think I didn't feel bad? She shot back. I did, but honestly, it's not like you even care about birthdays. You never throw parties. You're always too busy with work. Pause, slower, colder delivery. And that's when I realized it. She didn't get it. None of them did. This wasn't about a party. It was about years of being overlooked, of giving everything and being treated like nothing. You're right, I said quietly. I don't care about parties. I care about respect. Her face softened for a moment, but then she smirked. Respect? Don't act like you're some kind of martyr. You've always been the golden child, the one who made them proud. I'm the one who messed up. I'm the one they worry about. So they threw you my birthday party to make you feel better? I asked, my voice shaking. God, you're being so dramatic. Pause, tension tightening. That's when I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because it was either laugh or scream. You know what's dramatic? Spending my whole life cleaning up your messes, paying your rent when you can't, covering for you when you lie, and still being treated like I don't exist. She slammed her mug down. I didn't ask you to do any of that. No, I said, my voice rising. But you never said thank you either. Pause, silence for a few beats. The kitchen went quiet. The only sound was the hum of the refrigerator. For a long moment, we just stared at each other. Two sisters who had nothing left to say that wasn't soaked in years of resentment. Then she muttered, You always think you're the victim. And you always think you can do whatever you want without consequences. Pause. Deep, calm delivery. She stood up, trying to hold her ground. You know what? If you're that upset, take the cake. I don't care. It's not about the cake, Emily, I said. It's about everything that came before it. She looked at me like she didn't understand, and maybe she really didn't. You've always been the one they chose, I said softly. Even when you were wrong. Even when I was the one fixing it. And now, I'm done. Pause. That's when Mom walked in. Her eyes went wide when she saw us standing there, voices low but heavy with anger. Girls, please, she said. Don't fight. It's just a misunderstanding. I turned to her. My voice cracked slightly when I spoke. No, Mom. It's not a misunderstanding. It's a pattern. And I'm done pretending it doesn't hurt. She looked startled, like she wasn't used to hearing me talk back. You've always been so good, so understanding, she said softly. That's the problem, I said. You expected me to understand everything, even when it meant forgetting myself. Pause. Soft emotional beat. For a moment, no one said anything. Emily looked down. Mom looked like she wanted to cry. And me? I finally felt calm. I'm not mad anymore, I said quietly. Just done. Mom reached out. Sweetheart, don't say that. We love you. You love the version of me that keeps quiet, I replied. The one who makes it easy for you to love Emily more. Pause. Narration softens for emotional resonance. I turned and started walking toward the door. As I reached for the handle, Emily said something behind me. Something that froze me in place. You'll regret this, she muttered. You always do. I didn't even turn around. No, I said. For once in my life, I think I won't. And I walked out. Pause. Short musical swell. That was the last time I spoke to them. for a long time. But cutting ties wasn't as freeing as I thought it would be. Because even when you walk away from the people who hurt you, their voices still echo in your head. Soft narration tone. Weeks passed, then months. And just when I started to rebuild my life, to find peace in the silence, something unexpected happened. Something that made me question whether walking away was enough. Time has a strange way of slowing down when you're trying to move on. At first, I thought I could just disappear. Go to work, come home, sleep, repeat until the ache faded. But grief doesn't work like that. It doesn't vanish when you ignore it. It festers, grows roots, and whispers to you in the quiet hours of the night. Every morning, I'd wake up, pour coffee into the same chipped mug, and check my phone. Not because I expected anything, but because part of me still hoped. Pause. Maybe Mom would text. Maybe Emily would say sorry. But there was nothing. Days turned into weeks. Weeks into months. And then one morning, while scrolling through Facebook, I saw something that made my stomach twist. A photo. Emily, standing in front of a new car, smiling, captioned, "Finally got it. Huge thanks to my amazing sister for helping me out again." Pause. I froze. Helping her out again? No, that couldn't be right. I hadn't spoken to her in 3 months. And yet, there it was. The comments were full of people congratulating her. "You're so lucky to have such a supportive sister. She's always been there for you." "And Mom?" She'd commented too. "You deserve it, sweetheart. So proud of you both." Pause. Soft, controlled anger building. Both. That one word hit me like a punch. It meant they'd still been using my name, even after I walked away. My reputation, my effort, my kindness, all twisted into something to make Emily look better. I felt my hands shaking as I scrolled. She'd tagged me in the post. Without asking. Without talking to me. Pause. Sharp, cinematic tone. And that's when something inside me cracked. It wasn't rage, not yet. It was disappointment so heavy it felt like lead in my chest. But then, disappointment turned into something darker, something sharper. For the first time in my life, I thought, no more. I wasn't going to keep being the quiet one, the nice one, the forgiving one. I'd spent 28 years holding my tongue, smoothing over her mistakes, letting everyone believe she was just misunderstood. But this time, I wanted her to feel what I had felt, ignored, used, erased. Pause, low tone. So I decided to stop waiting for an apology that would never come, and start writing my own ending. The plan. At first, I didn't know what revenge would look like. I wasn't the type to scream or destroy things, but I understood something Emily didn't. People believe what they see, and she had spent years building an image. The helpless, misunderstood younger sister who just needed a little help. The one everyone rooted for. So, I was going to show them the truth. Quietly. Precisely. Completely. Pause. Soft music cue. Methodical tone. I started small. Remember how she always borrowed money and never paid it back? I gathered every text, every receipt, every bank transfer, every proof that I'd ever bailed her out. Then I created a neat little spreadsheet, dated, categorized, with screenshots attached. At first, it was just for me, a way to remember, to make sense of the years I'd wasted. But then I thought, maybe it was time other people saw what helping out really looked like. The spark. A week later, I got a message from someone I didn't expect, her landlord. Apparently, she'd fallen behind on rent again. He wanted to confirm if I'd be covering it, like last time. I just stared at the message for a moment, Then I typed back, "No, not this time." That simple sentence felt powerful, but it wasn't enough. So I did something I'd never done before. I told the truth. I posted on Facebook. A long, calm, honest post. Nothing cruel, nothing petty, just the facts. I wrote, "Sometimes people think they can use your kindness as an endless resource. But kindness isn't weakness. It's a choice. And I'm choosing differently now." I didn't mention names. I didn't have to. People knew. The comments started flooding in. Some were supportive, some were curious, and some, from mutual friends, clearly caught Emily's attention. Pause. Short silence, then emotional edge. 2 hours later, she called me. "What the hell is this?" she screamed the moment I picked up. "Why are you airing our family business online?" "It's not about you," I said calmly. "It's about me." "You're so selfish," she hissed. "You're trying to make me look bad." "I didn't have to," I replied. "You did that yourself." Pause. Slow delivery. Emotional. She hung up on me, but I didn't feel guilty. For the first time, I felt light. The fallout within a week, people stopped seeing Emily as the victim. Her landlord reached out to mutual contacts. Her coworkers started whispering about her unpaid debts. And Mom? She called too. Her voice was heavy with worry. "Honey, couldn't you have handled this privately?" "I tried," I said softly. "For 28 years. Silence. Then she said something that almost made me laugh. "You've changed." "No, Mom," I said. "I've just stopped pretending." After that, I didn't hear from Emily again for months. But I kept seeing traces of her online. Vague posts about betrayal, about family turning their backs. I didn't reply. I didn't need to. Because every time she tried to twist the story, there were people who remembered the truth I'd shared. And that's when I realized revenge doesn't always mean destruction. Sometimes it just means clarity. Soft, introspective tone. But life wasn't done teaching me lessons yet. Because just when I thought I'd moved past her, she showed up again. Not online, not in my messages, in person. And this time, she wasn't angry. She was desperate. She needed my help. And what she asked for next would change everything. It had been 5 quiet months. 5 months since I'd walked away. Since the truth finally came out. Since I stopped letting my family define who I was. For a while, the silence felt like peace. No phone calls, no drama, no guilt, just quiet. But peace has a strange way of feeling empty when it's not shared. Sometimes I caught myself staring at old photos, birthdays, vacations, messy Christmas mornings. And even though I knew those memories were built on uneven love, a part of me still missed them. Soft tone. Then, one Friday evening, just as I was settling down with a glass of wine and a book, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. Normally, I'd ignore it. But something, maybe instinct, made me answer. "Hello?" There was silence on the other end for a few seconds. Then, a shaky breath. "It's me." My heart stopped. "Emily?" Her voice cracked. I didn't know who else to call. Pause. Tension builds slowly. For a long moment, I didn't say anything. I just listened to the faint sound of her breathing. Then quietly, I asked, "What's going on?" "I need your help," she said. "Please." Pause. Soft piano cue. I almost laughed. Not out of cruelty, but disbelief. After everything, now she needed me? "Emily, you made it pretty clear you didn't want my help." "I know," she said quickly. "I know, and I was wrong. I don't have anyone else. Please just listen." Her voice was trembling. There was something different in it this time. Not defiance, not pride. Just fear. "Okay," I said finally. Talk. She told me she'd been evicted, lost her job 2 months ago. She'd been living out of her car. And the worst part? Mom didn't even know. I couldn't tell her, she whispered. After everything, she wouldn't understand. I didn't say anything. Because part of me did understand. She kept talking about how she'd tried to get back on her feet, how nothing worked, how she'd hit rock bottom. And then she said something that broke me. I know I don't deserve your help, but I don't know what else to do. Pause. Emotional stillness. There was a time when I would have dropped everything to save her. But now, I didn't trust her words anymore. What exactly are you asking me for, Emily? Just a place to stay. For a little while, until I find something. I looked around my apartment, my quiet, tidy, peaceful space. The place I'd built after walking away from all the chaos. Letting her in would destroy that peace. But shutting her out, would that make me just like the people who'd ignored me? Soft, reflective tone. I took a deep breath. All right, I said finally. You can come over, just for tonight. The line went silent for a moment. Then I heard her exhale. Thank you, she whispered. You have no idea how much this means. I wanted to believe her. I really did. But part of me already knew. Nothing with Emily ever stayed simple for long. She showed up 2 hours later. The moment I opened the door, I barely recognized her. Her hair was messy, her clothes wrinkled. Her eyes, those same eyes that used to sparkle with mischief, looked tired, hollow. For a second, all the anger I'd been holding on to melted away. Come in, I said softly. She stepped inside, clutching a small bag. The smell of rain clung to her jacket. I offered her a blanket, some food. She ate quietly, like someone who hadn't had a real meal in days. When she finally spoke, her voice was small. I didn't think you'd pick up, she said. I wouldn't have blamed you if you didn't. Why did you call me? I asked. She looked down. Because you're the only one who ever helped me, even when I didn't deserve it. Pause. Slow breath. I wanted to stay strong, to keep my walls up. But hearing that, it hit something deep inside me. Maybe it was the truth. Or maybe it was just manipulation in softer words. I couldn't tell anymore. She stayed quiet for a while, then added, I know I hurt you. I just didn't realize how much until I lost everything. You were the only one who ever stood by me, and I pushed you away. I'm sorry. Pause. Heavy emotion. Those words, I'd waited years to hear them. But instead of relief, I felt something else. Sadness, because it took her losing everything to finally see me. You don't have to apologize, I said quietly. Just be honest from now on. She nodded, tears glistening in her eyes. For the first time in a long time, we sat together. No yelling, no pretending. Just silence. But that peace didn't last. Because the next morning, everything changed again. The hidden truth. I woke up early to make coffee. Emily was still asleep on the couch, wrapped in the blanket I'd given her. Her phone buzzed on the table. I shouldn't have looked, I know that. But when I saw the name on the screen, my stomach turned. Mom. And right under it, a message preview. Did she take the bait yet? Pause. Cold silence. I froze. My heartbeat quickened. The mug slipped from my hand and shattered on the floor. Emily woke up instantly. What happened? She asked groggily. I didn't answer. I just handed her the phone. You tell me, I said. Her eyes darted to the message, and all the color drained from her face. It's not what it looks like, she stammered. Then what is it? Pause. Tone sharpens. She hesitated. Too long. And that was all the answer I needed. You came here to manipulate me again, I said quietly. Did Mom tell you to? She just wanted to talk to you, Emily pleaded. She thought this was the only way. So she used you? I snapped. Again? Tears welled up in her eyes. I didn't want to, I swear. But she said if I didn't, she'd cut me off completely. I didn't have a choice. Soft tone, almost pity. I stared at her, this broken version of my sister. And for the first time, I didn't feel anger. I felt pity. You always had a choice, Emily. You just never liked the cost of doing the right thing. She broke down crying, hands covering her face. I'm sorry, she whispered over and over. I'm so sorry. And I believed her. But that didn't mean I trusted her. After she left that morning, I sat by the window for hours, staring at the rain streaking down the glass. Part of me wanted to call Mom and scream. Part of me wanted to block them both forever. But the biggest part of me just wanted peace. Soft narration. Revenge had felt powerful for a while, but now it just felt heavy. Maybe true revenge wasn't about payback. Maybe it was about letting go before they could hurt me again. I picked up my phone, scrolled through my contacts, and deleted every number that tied me to that pain. Mom's, Emily's, even a few relatives who had chosen sides. And when I was done, I whispered something to myself that I'd never said before. You did enough. You can rest now. Soft closing tone. That night, I slept without dreams, without guilt, without anger, just quiet. For the first time, I wasn't the forgotten sister. I was the free one. The next morning, I woke up to a flood of messages. Not birthday wishes, not belated apologies, but photos. Photos of my sister holding a cake. Photos of my parents smiling beside her. Even my grandmother, who always told me, "You're the responsible one, dear," was in the background, clapping, looking so proud. It hit me like a punch to the chest. I wasn't angry. Not yet. I was invisible. They had chosen her. Again. I scrolled through each photo slowly, one by one, until I reached the last one, a group picture. The caption read, "Best surprise ever. Happy birthday to our golden girl." And my mom had commented, "At least someone's worth baking for." That was it. That single comment shattered something inside me that had been holding together for years. All the sacrifices, all the nights I went without sleep so she could stay comfortable. All the times I stood up for her when she made another mistake. All of it meant nothing. I sat there, staring at my screen, my heart pounding so loudly it drowned out everything else. Then I did something I'd never done before. I logged into Facebook and posted a single sentence. It feels strange seeing your own family celebrate your birthday without you. Within minutes, the post blew up. Old classmates commented. Some distant cousins sent messages. And then my sister texted me. You didn't have to make it public, you know. That was her first message. No apology, no guilt. Just a complaint that I'd embarrassed her. I typed back slowly, word by word. You didn't have to make it hurt. She left me on scene. For the first time in my life, I didn't chase an explanation. I didn't beg to be heard. I didn't call my mom crying. Instead, I made myself coffee, sat on the couch, and decided this was the year I was done being the afterthought. But destiny had other plans. 2 weeks later, my sister showed up at my door, pale, trembling, mascara smudged like she'd been crying for hours. She was holding an envelope, and when she handed it to me, her voice broke. They're evicting me. She stood there, shivering on my doorstep. Her designer jacket, the one she used to show off every weekend, hung loosely on her shoulders. Her hair was messy, her face pale. I didn't say anything. I just stared. The same sister who had laughed at me behind my back, who had let our parents forget me on my own birthday, was now standing there, trembling, holding that eviction notice like a lifeline. Finally, she spoke. I didn't know where else to go. Her voice cracked halfway through. I could feel a small, quiet part of me wanting to forgive her immediately. Because that's who I'd always been. The fixer, the helper, the one who carried everyone's burdens. But something inside me had changed. I stepped aside silently, letting her in. She walked past me and sat on the edge of my couch. The same couch I'd bought secondhand, piece by piece, when I first moved out to escape all the chaos at home. She looked around, probably realizing how hard I'd worked for everything I had. Meanwhile, she'd been living off our parents' praise and my sacrifices. They said I was late on rent. She started, her eyes welling up. I thought Mom was helping me with it. She said she sent it. She stopped when she saw the look on my face, because I knew exactly what had happened. Our mom had been too busy paying for the party. I took a deep breath, trying to stay calm. So, what are you going to do? She blinked, confused. I was hoping I could stay here, just for a bit, until I figure things out. Her tone was gentle, almost apologetic, but there was still that trace of entitlement, like she expected me to just say yes. For a moment, I wanted to. But then I remembered the photos, the cake, the caption. At least someone's worth baking for. I shook my head slowly. No, you can't. Her jaw dropped. What? You can't stay here, I repeated quietly. I think it's time you figure things out, on your own. For the first time in her life, my sister looked small. She wasn't angry, not defensive, just lost. But I don't have anyone else, she whispered. Neither did I said softly. And look how far that got me. She sat there in silence. The same silence I had lived with for years, when no one in the family called, when my messages went unanswered, when I was forgotten over and over again. I watched her break, not out of cruelty, but out of truth. After a long pause, I stood up, walked to the kitchen, and handed her a glass of water. You can stay for one night, I said finally. But tomorrow you'll call your landlord and fix this yourself. She nodded, her eyes filling with tears. That night, as I lay in bed, I couldn't sleep. Part of me still ached for her, for the sister I'd grown up with before everything became about who shined brighter. But the other part of me, the part that had been ignored, dismissed, and used, felt free for the first time. Maybe this was what revenge really looked like. Not screaming, not plotting, not payback, but peace. Still, peace never lasts long in families like ours. Because the next day, when I thought the storm had passed, I received a phone call that would change everything. It was Mom, and she didn't call to apologize. She called to accuse me. The next morning, my phone buzzed before sunrise. At first, I thought it was my alarm. But no, it was Mom. Her name flashed across the screen, and for a moment I froze. I hadn't heard her voice since the birthday fiasco. Part of me wanted to ignore it. But another part, that old, obedient daughter inside me, as it whispered, answer. Maybe she'll finally see your side. I took a deep breath and answered. Hello? There was a pause. Then her voice, cold and sharp, sliced through the silence. What did you do to your sister? I blinked. What do you mean? She called me crying, said you kicked her out. My chest tightened. I could almost hear my sister's muffled sobs in the background, like she was performing her usual role perfectly. Mom, I said calmly. She wasn't kicked out. She was evicted. There's a difference. Don't get smart with me, she snapped. You know she's struggling. How could you turn your back on family like that? Her words hit harder than I expected. Turn my back on family? After everything I'd done for them? I bit my tongue, trying to stay composed. Do you remember my birthday, Mom? There was silence on the line. What about it? You threw a party, I said quietly. For her. Oh, don't start that again, she said with an exasperated sigh. It was just a misunderstanding. We didn't mean anything by it. I almost laughed. You didn't mean anything by it? I repeated softly. You posted. At least someone's worth baking for. Do you know how that felt? There was a pause, but not the kind that comes before an apology. No, it was the kind that comes before defensiveness. You've always been so sensitive, she said finally. Everything isn't about you. And just like that, every scar, every wound, every forgotten birthday, every quiet disappointment came rushing back. You're right, Mom, I said, my voice shaking. It's never been about me. Not once. For the first time, I didn't try to sound calm. I didn't try to be the good daughter. I just let the truth out. I was the one paying her rent. I was the one covering your bills when Dad got sick. I was the one who showed up every single time. And you still chose her. You always choose her. There was silence on the other end. A long, heavy silence. Then she said something I'll never forget. She needs us more than you do. That was it. That was the final nail. I felt something snap inside me. Not in anger, but in clarity. Because in that moment, I realized I would never be enough for them. No matter how much I gave, or how long I waited, or how hard I tried, it would never change. Then you can keep her, I said, my voice quiet but steady. Because I'm done trying to earn a family that doesn't see me. And I hung up. For the first time in my life, I didn't cry after a call like that. I didn't collapse or doubt myself. I just sat there, sipping my coffee, feeling something I hadn't felt in years. Freedom. My sister stayed one more night before leaving, saying nothing. And though it broke my heart a little, I knew it was the right choice. But life has a way of coming full circle. Because weeks later, I got another message. Not from Mom, not from my sister, but from someone I didn't expect. Her landlord. It was a quiet Thursday afternoon. Rain drizzled softly outside my apartment window, tapping against the glass like a rhythm that matched my thoughts. I was finally starting to feel lighter. I'd begun journaling again, cooking for myself, even smiling at strangers in the grocery store. Then my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Hi, this is Mr. Dalton, your sister's landlord. I believe we've spoken once before about the rent payments. My heart skipped. I hesitated before replying. Yes. Is everything okay? There was a long pause. Then another message appeared. I wanted to thank you for always being on time with our payments. I didn't realize until recently that the deposits were coming from your account. I froze. Wait. He knew? Then came the next message. She mentioned you were helping her again. But when I checked the records, the last few payments bounced. They were under her name this time. I'm sorry things turned out this way. I stared at the screen, reading it over and over. She had tried to fake my payments. In her name. It wasn't just irresponsibility anymore. It was deception. I felt the air leave my chest. All those times I thought she just forgot to thank me. Or maybe didn't realize how much I'd done. No. She knew exactly what she was doing. I called Mr. Dalton. He sounded kind, almost sympathetic. She said you'd cover it again. he admitted softly. But when I reached out, her number was disconnected. I figured you should know. I thanked him and hung up. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't cry. I didn't shout. I didn't feel heartbreak. Just this deep, quiet exhaustion. That night, I sat down with my old notebooks, the ones where I used to write dreams, plans, goals. On the last page, I wrote one sentence. No more saving people who don't want to be saved. It felt like a vow. The next day, I got another message. This time from my mother. I hope you're happy. Your sister's been kicked out. She's staying with Aunt Marla now, and everyone's upset with you. I didn't even respond. Not out of pride, but peace. Because for once, their chaos wasn't my responsibility. Weeks passed. No calls. No texts. Just silence. Beautiful, clean silence. Then, one evening, as I was cooking dinner, I got an unexpected knock at the door. When I opened it, I saw my father. He looked older, smaller than I remembered. And he wasn't angry. Just sad. Can I come in? He asked softly. I nodded, stepping aside. He sat down quietly, holding a small envelope. Your mother doesn't know I'm here, he began. And I'm not here to defend anyone. I just wanted to tell you something. He slid the envelope across the table. It's from your grandmother. My breath caught. She'd been sick for months, and I hadn't spoken to her since before the birthday. I opened it slowly. Inside was a letter, written in her shaky handwriting. My dear girl, I've watched for years how strong you've been. You gave more than anyone ever asked for, and they took without seeing. But life has a strange way of balancing things. Those who take too much eventually lose what matters most. Don't let their blindness make you doubt your light. You are worth baking for. I couldn't stop the tears this time. My father reached out, resting a trembling hand over mine. She wanted you to know she was proud of you. For the first time in my life, I felt seen. Truly, deeply seen. That letter, those words, healed something my family had broken long ago. As Dad left, he turned back and said quietly, I wish I'd spoken up sooner. And then he was gone. That night, I framed the letter and placed it on my desk. A reminder that even if most of my family never saw my worth, someone did. And that was enough. But I didn't know. The story wasn't over yet. Because soon after, my sister's karma came knocking. Loudly. It was about a month later. I was beginning to truly move on. New routines, new peace, new life. My morning started with quiet coffee, not chaos. And my nights? Peaceful silence instead of constant anxiety. I thought the storm was finally behind me, but life always finds a way to circle back. It was a Sunday afternoon when I got the call. Not from Mom this time, from Aunt Marla. Her tone was strained, anxious. Honey, it's your sister. My heart skipped. What happened? She was arrested. The words felt unreal, like echoes from a dream I didn't want to believe. Arrested? For what? Fraud, she said quietly. Credit card theft. She'd been using your name again. I froze. Everything around me blurred. The sound of the ticking clock, the faint hum of the fridge. All of it vanished. My name? I whispered. Yes, she opened accounts pretending to be you. When the bank traced it back, they realized something wasn't right. The police came to question her this morning. I sat down slowly, my legs weak beneath me. It wasn't anger that came first. It was grief. Grief for the sister I used to know. Grief for the bond that could have been saved if love hadn't been replaced with jealousy. Aunt Marla sighed. Your parents are devastated. Your mother's in denial. Your father, he's broken. I closed my eyes, So this was it, the inevitable crash. For years, I'd carried her mistakes, paid her debts, and shielded her from consequences, believing that love meant protection. But the moment I stopped, the truth revealed itself. Without someone to clean up after her, she collapsed under her own lies. That night, I couldn't sleep. I walked around my apartment, the rain tapping softly against the windows again, almost like deja vu. But this time, I wasn't the one drowning. I was standing still, watching the storm pass. The next day, my mother called. Her voice was broken, trembling. They're saying she might face charges. The lawyer says she could go to jail. There was a pause. Then the words she'd never said before. I'm sorry. I almost didn't believe it. For what, Mom? For not seeing you. For letting this happen. You tried to warn us, and I didn't listen. Her voice cracked into sobs, and even though part of me wanted to feel satisfaction, I didn't. Because revenge, real revenge, isn't about watching others fall. It's about realizing you've risen above them. It's okay, Mom, I said quietly. We all learn. Some lessons just come too late. There was silence. Then she whispered, Can you forgive me? I took a deep breath, the kind that feels like letting go of years of pain. I already did. And I meant it. Weeks later, my sister was sentenced to community service instead of jail. I didn't attend the hearing. But one day, I received a handwritten letter. It was from her. You were right. I thought life would always save me because you did. I thought being loved meant being rescued. I was wrong. I'm sorry. For the first time, she said the one thing I'd waited to hear all my life. I'm sorry. I folded the letter, placed it beside Grandma's framed note, and whispered quietly to myself, maybe this is what healing feels like. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't loud. It was just peace. Steady, calm, and finally mine. The years of sacrifice, the forgotten birthdays, the invisible love, all of it had led to this one simple truth. Sometimes the best revenge isn't payback. It's rebuilding your life so beautifully that those who hurt you can only watch from afar. 3 years later. It's strange how time moves differently when you finally stop carrying everyone else's weight. My apartment had changed. Bigger now. Filled with light, books, and plants that somehow stayed alive despite my inconsistent care. But more importantly, I had changed. I had my own business, new friends who felt like family, and a version of myself that no longer apologized for existing. Life was peaceful, steady, simple, quiet. Until one afternoon when an unexpected email arrived. It was from my father. We're having a small family dinner. Mom's birthday. She'd love to see you. No pressure, just family. My fingers hovered over the keyboard for minutes before I finally typed back, Okay, I'll come. That single decision, to step back into the home I'd once run from, felt heavier than anything I'd done in years. The day came. As I drove down that familiar street, memories flashed like scenes in an old film. Me and my sister playing in the yard, Mom baking cookies, Dad fixing the porch light. But the house looked smaller now. Maybe because I wasn't looking up to it anymore. When I walked in, the first person I saw was my mother. Her hair was grayer, her face softer. When our eyes met, she didn't say a word. She just came forward and hugged me. Tightly, trembling. I didn't think you'd come, she whispered. Neither did I admitted, smiling faintly. The dining room was warm, filled with the scent of baked bread and cinnamon. And there, at the table, sat my sister. She looked different, humbled, quiet. There was no expensive jewelry, no arrogance, just a faint, tired smile. Hey, she said softly. Hey, I replied. We sat across from each other in silence for a while, both of us unsure where to start. Finally, she spoke. I finished my community service. Been working part-time at a shelter. It's not glamorous, but it's real. It helps. I nodded, genuinely moved. That's good. I'm proud of you. She blinked, surprised. You are? Yeah. Took courage to face it. Her eyes glistened. I don't deserve your forgiveness. Maybe not, I said gently. But forgiveness isn't about deserving. It's about freeing ourselves from what they did. She nodded slowly, tears streaming down her cheeks. Mom brought in the cake a few minutes later. This time, she didn't bake it for someone else. She baked it with both our names on it. As the candles flickered, I looked around the table. At my mother's trembling smile, my father's proud eyes, my sister's fragile hope. And for the first time in years, the ache in my chest wasn't there. It had been replaced by something quieter. Not joy, not revenge, just peace. After dinner, Mom pulled me aside and handed me a small wrapped box. Inside was a bracelet. Gold, simple, elegant. It was Grandma's, she said softly. She wanted you to have it. I think she'd be happy to know it's finally yours. I smiled. She already is. As I walked to my car that night, the stars above shimmered faintly, like they were watching too. I thought about everything. The pain, the lessons, the distance, the healing. And I realized something. Revenge had never been about making them hurt. It had been about finding myself, the version of me that no longer needed their approval. The girl who once cried over being forgotten was now unforgettable to herself. I started the engine, looked one last time at the house, and whispered, "Goodbye." Not in bitterness, but in gratitude, because every wound they gave me became the reason I finally learned to love myself. And that, I think, was the sweetest revenge of all. 6 months passed since that night. It's strange how something as small as one dinner can rewrite years of silence. But life, as I'd learned, is never about the big moments. It's the quiet ones that change everything. After that evening, I didn't move back into their world, and I didn't close the door completely either. We found something in between. A bridge, fragile but real. We called sometimes, shared pictures, even met for coffee. Not because we forgot the past, but because we were learning to live beyond it. Mom started volunteering at a local women's shelter. She told me one day, her eyes softer than I'd ever seen them. I never realized how much of myself I lost trying to keep peace between you and your sister. I just wanted a quiet home. You did your best, I said gently. Maybe, but my best should have included listening to you. We sat in silence for a moment before she added, I'm proud of the woman you've become. You didn't just survive. You healed. And hearing that, after years of feeling invisible, felt like sunlight breaking through clouds that had hung over me since childhood. Dad. Well, he didn't say much. He never was good with words. But actions. That was his language. He fixed up my old bike from the garage and showed up at my apartment one morning. It still rides, he said, placing it against the wall. I figured, you might like it for the memories. I smiled. Thanks, Dad. He nodded awkwardly, then handed me a small envelope. Inside was a photo. Me, him, Mom, and my sister back when we were kids. On the back, he'd written 4 words. Family, still worth fighting for. That was all. But for a man who'd always chosen silence over truth, those words meant everything. As for my sister, her journey was the hardest to watch and the most inspiring. She started small, working at that shelter. Then she began studying social work. It was like watching her rebuild her identity from scratch. No filters, no spotlight, no applause. One day she called me and said, "Do you think people can really change?" I thought for a moment. Only if they stop pretending they don't need to. She laughed quietly. Then maybe I have. There was still distance between us, scars that wouldn't fade overnight. But for the first time, there was also mutual respect. We no longer competed. We coexisted. And that was enough. As for me, my work flourished. I opened a small creative agency that told real stories. Stories of resilience, forgiveness, and second chances. The kind of stories I once wished someone had told me. My clients came from everywhere. Artists, small businesses, people with dreams they'd buried under fear. And every time I helped them find their voice, I felt a little more whole. Sometimes at night, I'd sit on my balcony, the city lights flickering below, and I'd remember that girl. The one who used to cry in her room because no one believed in her. I'd whisper to her, "We made it. You're safe now." One weekend, I took a solo trip to the coast. The ocean was calm, the air filled with salt and promise. Standing there, barefoot on the sand, I realized something profound. Healing isn't about forgetting what hurt you. It's about remembering without letting it control you. It's about walking back into the fire. And this time, knowing it can't burn you anymore. A child nearby laughed, chasing waves with her mother. The sound made me smile. I took off my bracelet, Grandma's, and held it against the sunlight. For years, I thought it symbolized inheritance, legacy, family duty. But now, it meant freedom. The freedom to choose who I become, to love without fear, to forgive without surrender. I slipped it back on, feeling its gentle weight. A reminder not of pain, but of power. As the sun dipped below the horizon, I whispered softly to the wind, "Thank you for everything, even the hard parts." Because the truth was, without the pain, without the loss, without being cut off when I needed them most, I never would have discovered how strong I could be on my own. That's the beautiful irony of life. Sometimes the people who break you are the ones who unknowingly give you the pieces to rebuild yourself better. When I got home, I found a message from my mom. "We're planning a small family dinner again. Your sister wants to cook this time. No pressure." I laughed, a soft, genuine laugh that came from a place of peace. Then I replied, "I'll bring dessert." And as I hit send, I realized the past was still there. The memories hadn't vanished, but they no longer defined me. Because this time, I wasn't walking into their home as the forgotten daughter. I was walking in as the woman who had finally found her voice. And that's where my story really begins. Not the one written in someone else's shadow, but the one I wrote myself. Word by word, scar by scar, until it became something beautiful, something mine.